Hello everyone, and welcome back to our channel. Today we dive into one of the more outrageous and frankly entertaining stories from the South African political battlefield. It involves taxis, travelling voters, the ANC, and the MK party claiming to have caught people red-handed.
Izina abantwana abaningi abangahlali la ewodini sibabambile siyabakhipha bonke labantwana bezene ANC ngamateksi commanders eMseni nabo bonke abahlali bonke la ewodini labantwana samba naba be-ANC bonke babadrophe ngamateksi ma-commanders babadrophe ngamateksi ma-commanders babadrophe ngamateksi ma-commanders siphezu kwabo ma-commanders sibabambile ma-commanders.
And the MK party wasted no time in announcing that they had caught the culprits in the act. Now, let's pause there for a moment. Imagine the journey itself. From Braamfontein to eMseni is no quick trip. We are not talking about popping down to the local spa. This is a long ride, filled with potholes, questionable road snacks, and the occasional breakdown along the N3. And all of this effort, apparently, just to squeeze in a few extra votes for the ruling party. If this sounds like an episode of a political comedy show, you're not alone. But behind the humor, there is a serious matter at stake. Accusations of busing in voters from outside a ward are not new in South Africa. Opposition parties, civil society organizations, and even frustrated communities have been raising this alarm for decades. The IEC has strict rules. You can only vote in the ward where you are registered. If it turns out that voters were shipped in illegally, this is not only unethical but also a direct violation of electoral law. The MK party, of course, has made the incident part of its campaign to show that the ANC is desperate. They argue that the ruling party, once unshakable, is now scrambling to hold on to influence in places like KwaZulu-Natal where its support has slipped dramatically. Remember, KwaZulu-Natal was the ANC's stronghold for years, but Jacob Zuma's breakaway MK party has eaten into that support base, leaving the ANC rattled and looking for ways to secure numbers. And here's where the story gets even more interesting. The MK party has not only accused the ANC of voter manipulation but has also turned this taxi incident into a symbol of how, in their view, the ruling party has lost touch with ordinary people. Instead of winning voters through service delivery, jobs, or honest campaigning, the ANC is allegedly relying on tricks and shortcuts. Let's also consider the optics. A branded minibus taxi pulling up to a small rural voting station, with people who clearly do not live there, immediately raises suspicions. Communities know each other. In small wards, everyone is familiar with their neighbors. So when a group of strangers arrives with the clear intention of voting, the alarm bells ring quickly. That's exactly what happened here, with MK party members and volunteers reportedly intercepting the scene. Now, of course, the ANC has not rushed to confirm these allegations. And to be fair, without proper investigation by the IEC, this remains a claim. But politically, the damage is done. The MK party gets to tell its supporters, look, we are the guardians of free and fair elections, and the ANC is resorting to desperate moves. That narrative alone strengthens MK's grassroots image as defenders of the people's vote. There's also the broader point about trust in the electoral system. South Africa already struggles with low voter turnout and widespread skepticism about whether politicians can be trusted. Allegations of busing voters add fuel to the fire. People start to believe that elections are not fair contests of ideas but competitions in who can pull off the sneakiest scheme. That erodes confidence in democracy itself. But let's inject some humor back into this, because you almost have to laugh at the picture it paints. A group of people in Johannesburg wake up, get told they are going on a trip, and end up hundreds of kilometers away in KwaZulu-Natal, all for the price of a lunchbox and maybe a t-shirt. One imagines some of them regretting the journey when they arrived at eMseni, only to find MK party volunteers ready to expose the whole affair. That taxi might as well have had a big sign on the side saying, "Dodgy ANC election operations, free rides to questionable votes." It is also worth noting that taxis have long played a role in South African politics. During rallies, protests, or campaigns, they are often the transport of choice to move supporters around. But using them to shift actual voters into areas where they are not registered crosses into another category entirely. That's not mobilization, that's cheating. The story also shows how tense the political environment in KwaZulu-Natal has become. The province is a battleground between ANC loyalists, the MK party with Zuma's backing, the IFP still holding rural strongholds, and the EFF pushing for a foothold. Every ward matters. Every voting district can tilt the balance. So the idea that the ANC might be bussing in voters is not far-fetched in the eyes of many people who already view elections with suspicion. Let's zoom out and think about what this means for 2026 local government elections. If this is how fiercely contested by-elections are already playing out, then the build-up to the next big polls could be chaotic. Parties will not only be campaigning but also policing each other's actions, waiting to pounce on any irregularity. That creates a theater of constant accusations, counter-accusations, and, of course, plenty of material for us to discuss here. Now, before we close, let's touch on what happens next. The IEC could, in theory, investigate this claim. If proof is found, there might be consequences ranging from disqualification of votes to even criminal charges. But history shows us that many of these cases vanish into bureaucratic limbo, with little accountability. Which means, once again, it will be up to voters to decide whether they trust the ANC's denials or the MK party's claims. One thing is certain, the image of that taxi in eMseni has already taken on a life of its own. It symbolizes more than just a few questionable ballots. It captures the desperation, the creativity, and yes, the absurdity of South African politics in 2025. So what do you think? Was this a genuine attempt at rigging, or just a political stunt blown out of proportion? And more importantly, would you personally travel all the way from Johannesburg to vote in KwaZulu-Natal if someone offered you a free taxi ride? That's where I'll leave it today. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave your thoughts in the comments below. We love hearing from you, and your insights always make the conversation richer. Thank you for watching, and as always, stay sharp, stay informed, and stay entertained. See you next time.